So I just watched the first rated R Marvel movie and boy was it amazing. So this movie is directed by Stephen Norrington and stars Wesley Snipes, Stephen Dorff, Chris Christoph. Essentially this movie is about Blade, who's half vampire, half human, and because of that he has abnormal strengths compared to regular vampires. He hunts vampires, and basically in this movie he tries to save the world from a vampire apocalypse. And right off the bat, the first scene in this movie is absolutely amazing. I understand this is a little bit of a spoiler, but it basically starts off with a rave, and it's like, and then all of a sudden, all you see is from the sprinkler system, blood is raining all over the place, and it's so amazing. The setup of this movie is so fantastic. Just like the mythos of like the vampire genre itself and the way that they change it in this film is just so fantastic. Like all the little ideas where if you get bitten and like you're waiting to turn and you're on the borderline of turning, you can get injected by garlic serum into your bloodstream and you basically stop the change factor, and it's like holy crap, like that's so crazy and interesting. And first off, I just want to talk about Wesley Snipes. In this movie, he's so fantastic. Like this is definitely his best role he's ever done. Blade 1, fantastic. The guy is so badass. And not even just that, but like the weapons and gadgets he uses and just the way he delivers his one-liners, like, motherfucker, do you know what you're doing? Is like so sick. And just like, there's so many little things that he does that are just so fantastic. Like, he freaking throws these knives in this guy, so turns him on fire. He looks at him and just goes, and it's like, yeah, man, like, yeah, you did it, like, awesome. And not even that, just like the mythos of Blade himself, the fact that he's a half vampire, half human, but he's a vampire who can walk during the day, and he has like super normal strength, and it's just so fantastic. Just the mythos of his character in general is so good. And he also has this thing where when he was a boy, after he hit puberty, his thirst really turned on. And I know I'm getting into the story a little bit much, but you'll like this. He after he hits puberty, he's basically goes on this bloodthirsty craze where he kills a lot of homeless people, and that's where his assistant finds him and raises him. But basically he goes on for years just killing homeless and going on this crazy bloodthirst. And he hates himself for that. He hates himself for being a vampire, and he hates himself for having this bloodthirst. And it adds so much to his character and just makes him such an interesting protagonist. Next thing I want to talk about is Whistler. Whistler is Blade's basically assistant and father figure in this movie. He took Blade in when he was a kid and raised him who he was, and he basically trains Blade to become a vampire hunter and makes all these crazy gadgets for Blade. And he's a really fun character. He's really witty, and he's like that perfect assistant, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you have cheesy assistants or cheesy sidekicks. He's like that perfect mix of both. He's kind of badass, he's old, but he's also witty. He's a really good and fun character to have and fun to watch. And the next thing I want to talk about is our female lead. She's not only hot, but she has to do with the story, and it's so nice to see. Like, I know I say that all the time about different things, but like it's so good to see when you have like a nice like hot chick who actually has to deal with the storyline. Like, I don't know, normally movies don't incorporate story into the girl that's in an action movie, you know what I mean? Like, they just have a hot chick who's just there just to look at. But like, the girl in this movie actually has to do so much with the story. She develops, I don't want to give this away, she develops a cool ass serum that helps Blade out in the end. And she's really cool to watch. She's kind of badass, and it was cool. She's nice. It was nice to see a badass female lead. And the last character I want to talk about is Frost, our villain. He's very memorable, he's very meticulous, and he's kind of scary. Like, he's a scary guy. He's not super strong or anything like that. Like, he's just very mentally sound, and you can tell that he has these crazy ideas that are going to take his vampire order to like the whole new level. Obviously you can see that in the story, but basically there's like a council of elders in this vampire community, and they're all pure blood, so they were all born of a vampire descent, and he's not a pureblood, so he has like all these crazy and new ideas to progress the vampire order to a higher standard than what they've been keeping them as. And he's just such a cool character. He's a very memorable villain. I always like to see a villain who's very memorable. Not only does he have wit and charm, but he can bring on that fearful factor, and he's played by Stephen Dorff, and he really delivers this character well. Like Wesley Snipes, he's really badass, he's really fun to watch, but he doesn't have very many lines. Stephen Dorff has tons of lines, and he delivers them perfectly, and he was just a very memorable villain overall. Now, other than our characters, there were so many small things in this movie that are so fantastic. Not like Blade's weapons and gadgets. There's a small moment in the end where Blade cuts someone in half, and they like go out, but then it sucks them back in, and Blade doesn't say anything. He's just like, and you're like, I would probably act that way too. Other than the characters and the small things in this movie, I really want to talk about the action. The action in this movie is so fantastic. Wesley Snipes is like a triple black belt or something like that, but basically he's a mixed martial artist, so he does all his own stunts, which makes the action that much more better. And I always love seeing an actor that does their own stunts because it makes the movie that much better. And guess what? This movie delivers. The only bad thing I have to say about this movie is I wish the end fight between Blade and Frost was a little bit longer and a little bit more. There was a lot of action, but I just wish it had more emotional impact. Other than that, though, this movie is so fantastic. Honestly, it's one of my favorite Marvel movies ever made. I give this movie a very high A. If it wasn't for that end fight scene, this movie would honestly be an A+ for me. Guys, I highly suggest watching this if you haven't watched it. It's kind of a forgotten treasure, you know what I mean? Anyways, go check this movie out. I rate it an A. If you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click that like and subscribe button down below. If you've seen Blade and you liked it, please comment in the comments below. Tell me why you liked the movie, if there's any little nitpicky things that you enjoyed about it, because there's so many small things in the mythos of this film. And guys, I love you, Film Nation. Take care. Have a good one.